Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great webinar plan, and we're so pleased that you made it. We are presenting today, Being Your Own Boss, Courageous or Crazy, and this is our first module of our series. And we're going to talk about your goals and motivations, why you wanted to get into a business for yourself. With me on the call today is Carl Dierschow from Small Fish Business Coaching, and I'm Leslie Lautzenhiser with FranChoice. Carl?
Hi, thanks Leslie, appreciate it, and welcome to everybody. This is going to be a pretty lively session here. We've got some great information, so we'd like you to all pay attention. We're going to blast through it pretty quickly, and then at the end we'll tell you more about what the next steps are here. So let's talk about being your own boss. What does this actually mean? Well, a lot of people say the phrase. For example, people talk about having more flexible timer and work arrangements. Maybe you've got small kids at home and so you want to have a chance to structure your work around that. Or maybe you just don't go for the 9-to-5 grind that everybody else does and would like to have a business that does something different. Some people think of it as a way to get rich and famous. We'll talk more about that and how that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Another one would be you want to be your own boss because you like leading people and you want to run an organization. So your goals are perhaps more about creating an organization which will be large, productive, and of course make you insanely rich. Why not? Another one that I hear quite a bit is people having self-sufficiency. So you want to take that future into your own hands. You know, you're tired of working for somebody else because you just don't trust that they have your best interests in mind, that you're going to have a job and a regular paycheck into the future. So the idea of launching out on your own sounds wonderful. And of course, doing something uniquely different. So maybe you've had a passion you wanted to explore. Maybe you have that wonderful idea, that great invention that you've thought about, and you think that creating a company or building something will be the best way for you to achieve that. So Leslie, why don't you talk about the goals for a second?
Yeah, thanks, Carl. And I think that's a good warm-up to really sort of get you all on the page of thinking about, is this a good step for you? And I'm not sure, where you are in your life, what's leading you to even be on the call today. But maybe let's talk about some of the goals that you have now in your life. The first thing that I always talk about in my practice when I'm working with people is, why are you doing this? And it's really important to be clear as to why you would consider starting a business for yourself. Write that down, your big why. Why are you doing this? And another thing to think about is, why is now a good time to explore the business? What is your pain that's going on in your life? What is the driving force that is getting you to think about starting something on your own right now? Are you unemployed? Are you anticipating being unemployed? Have you just retired? Are you just fed up? What is it about right now that makes it a good time for you to look into this? And I talked a little bit about that, but I think it's important to identify the pain that's motivating you to look for new opportunities. And again, that could be, you're dissatisfied with your job, you're out of a job, you're working too long. What really is it that's driving you and motivating you? How do you see your life changing as a business owner? Because it will. Carl and I both own our own businesses, and we can speak to this, that it is very different being in business for yourself as opposed to being a corporate employee working for somebody else. How do you see your life changing as a business owner? Do you see that your work schedule is going to change? Do you have more time? Do you have more flexible time? Are you going to have more control over money? Are you going to be happier because you're going to be in control? Shut your eyes and just visualize for a moment, what does your life look like once you become a business owner? And what could owning your own business allow you to do that you currently can't do? And again, this kind of goes back to thinking, gosh, I've been commuting, 3 hours every day. I never have time to see my children's sporting events. I don't get time to volunteer. I don't get to travel. I don't have to have any time off. I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. I'd like to be doing something that's more meaningful to me, that I can give back to the community. What could owning that business give you that you currently can't do right now? And this is really important to also think about is what lifestyle do you want? Do you want to improve your overall income? Do you want to have more money coming in for a long-term residual? Do you want to be nearing retirement and look into stepping out of a business in a couple of years and having somebody else take over? Do you want to be traveling more? What lifestyle do you want to achieve now and into the future that maybe owning your own business could do? And Carl, can you advance to the next slide where we're talking about visualizing your future?
Well, I had a question about this, Leslie. Actually, interesting. What do you suggest for people who maybe struggle with this idea of how their life is going to change as a business owner? Because, I mean, you have these grand visions of rolling around in the money and controlling people's jobs and lives and telling them what to do and customers coming in and stuff. But, you know, I know that the reality isn't that. So how do you suggest that people figure that out?
That's a great question. And, I think it is true. I mean, your life does change. You are going to be working harder, but you're going to be working for yourself. You may not have that immediate cash flow, but that's hopefully something you factor into when you launch into a business and taking into account for that. So, it could change if you're used to having a Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job, stable paycheck, it would change. But how do you see that change really impacting you or improving your life? Being very clear on how your life is going to change as a business owner is really important because it is substantially different. So thanks for clarifying, because I think it's really important that people go into this with their eyes wide open and be very clear as to why they're going to be doing this. And I think it's always fun to look out into the future because the first couple years of owning a business are hard. But where would you like to be in 5 years? And again, this is a fun visual. How much money are you going to be making? How much time are you going to be working in business? What are you going to be doing every day? Do you get to get up and go to the gym for a while and come in a little bit later? Do you get to get off a little bit earlier? Are you traveling more? Are you giving back to the community? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And what kind of business opportunity will most likely get you there, that you can be achieving the dreams that you want? What are your short and long-term financial goals? Again, really critical. If you start out a business, it may take a while for you to generate income. So you need to think about, in 90 days, do I want to be starting to pull some money back in? In 2 or 3 years, would I like to be replacing my corporate income? That's a great first goal for somebody who's had a pretty nice, stable, mid-management corporate career to shoot for, an opportunity that in 2 to 3 years they're replacing the corporate income. Would they like to be at an opportunity where they're replacing the entire investment in their business? When would you like to do that? Have that whole investment paid off? So it's really important to think about short and long-term financial goals. And then later on in the series, we'll talk about evaluating opportunities so you can make good decisions about those that most likely will help you reach your goals. How long do you want to be doing this? Are you thinking that you really only want to be in business for yourself maybe the next 5 to 7 years as a bridge of retirement? Is this something you think you want to be doing for 10 to 15 years? And this kind of leads into the exit strategy, which I think is important to know going into it. How would you like to exit from your business? Do you want to pass it on to a family member? Do you want to sell it? What is it that you want to do, and when would you like to do it? It's important to know because, again, evaluating the types of businesses that you may consider down the line, some allow for different types of exit strategies in different periods of time. So it's important to know going into it, how long do you want to be doing this, and when you cease to do it, how are you going to exit from the business? Carl?
I know that for me, the clients that I work with, this last question is a very important one, and it seems really weird to be talking about that even before you started a business. But it actually is quite helpful because it helps you to look at your business separate from yourself. I work with a lot of people who get very tied up when they start the business that they are the entire business and it's their entire life. It basically is hard to tell the two apart. And that's okay for a while. You need to do it. You need to have that kind of passion, and that's wonderful. But as time goes on, especially if you want the business to outlive you, then you need to think about what would be the right way for that to happen. Do I want the company to outlive me? Do I want to be able to sell it off? Do I want to pass it off to family? Do I want to bring up a new owner out of the employee base? You know, how does that work? And it's not like you're committing to it at this stage, but it's a very useful mind exercise to go through while you're drawing your plans on the back of a bar napkin.
Yeah, and I think, there's that term, start with the end in mind. I think that's really important to think about that. So, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to talk for a second about the other things beyond your goals. What is it that you have to work with? And we can look at them two ways, either as assets or as constraints. Some are more of one than the other. For instance, how much financial support can you put into growing a new business or buying a business or whatever path you want to take? And you do need to be realistic about this because creating a business is always more expensive than you expect it's going to be. And it always takes longer to get to break even. So you want to make sure that you have some cushion there and that you're not going just absolutely nuts as you get the business partially started and then feel like you're running out of money. You'd like to be able to avoid that if you can. So the financial funds that you have, that's a great asset, but it also puts a constraint on how far you can extend that. So beyond your own assets, though, you have what other people can you tap. There's things starting off with family and friends and then moving into more structured arrangements with banks and venture capitalists, stuff like that. We don't have time to talk about that right now, but we will talk about that in a future webinar. But what you want to look at this point is what are the assets that you can tap? Do you have that rich uncle who might be able to help you out? What about your parents? What about retirement savings, things like that? How much time and hard work are you willing to dedicate? This is a really important one because, again, creating a business is going to take more time and work than you expect it's going to. There's a million things that need to be done. They're slow. There's always going to be surprises, things like that. So be realistic. If you want to be raising small kids at the same time as you're doing this, then put a good hard limit around how much time you can spend on the business because you don't want your family life to suffer. So it's good to be realistic about that to begin with because it will dictate your decisions later on that we'll talk about. How much business knowledge do you have? This is an interesting one. I find people tend to fall into two camps. They either think that they have a lot more than they really do, or they don't give themselves credit and realize that they have as much knowledge as they really do. So this is a good time to inventory what is it that I know about business in general, and do I have other people that I can tap? I'm sorry, I had a problem with my headphones. What can you tap? What other people do you know? And then how much do you know that is specific to the business that you are trying to start or run? And whether that's domain knowledge, product knowledge, or whatever. So go through, do a full inventory of those kinds of things. Don't expect your list to be full. There will be a lot of things that you need to learn, and that's okay. And then, who else do you need to find? There's always going to be other resources you need to build, whether that's employees, advisors, funders, partners, whatever. And this is the point at which a lot of people come to me or Leslie as a coach to say, all right, help me see what I do and don't know. So let's talk about the next steps. This is all we're going to do on today's webinar. Appreciate everybody that was able to show up. Next time, we're going to talk about considering the alternatives that are going to help you meet your goals. So we have a module that's called Your Range of Alternatives. Look for that on this YouTube channel. We will be giving you a lot more information about how to actually start looking at the alternatives, because there's a lot more alternatives than you probably think there are. So it's good to see what the range is so that you know where to focus. Not that you're going to investigate everything. That's not realistic. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. Do appreciate it. I'm Carl Dierschow. I work for Small Fish Business Coaching. I do coaching for business owners and business entrepreneurs who are looking to create great businesses.
Thanks, Carl. It was really great just listening to you and all the wealth of knowledge you have of working with your clients and having them kind of sort this out for themselves. And again, my name is Leslie Lautzenhiser, and I am a consultant with Fran Choice, and I provide a free service where I work with individuals who are, like yourself, exploring business opportunities, and if those opportunities align themselves more towards a franchise opportunity, I can help match you with a franchise that's going to be the best fit for you and work with you throughout the entire process. So anyway, thank you so much for your courage and for joining us today, and we look forward to having you on our next call. Have a great day.
Thanks. See you on the next webinar.